Hi everyone and welcome to the Young Enterprise Alumni webinar. I hope we're all doing well. We've got a really exciting session for you today. Our speaker is Jack Miller and he's going to be sharing the secrets of career development with us today. Jack is an alumnus of Young Enterprise. He took part in our startup program in 2014 and he's gone on to have a fantastic career and is now helping others with their career development. It's an amazing story and I am not going to steal your thunder, Jack. I'm sure you'll share that with us today. We do have function for question and answer and Jack will be taking your questions at the end. But if you've got anything, please type it as we go along and we'll answer those at the end. So now I will hand it over to you, Jack.
Brilliant. Thank you, Danielle. Well, firstly, I'd just like to say big thank you to Young Enterprise for helping arrange this event. Really looking forward to going through some of the secrets of career development and hopefully showing you some tips and pointers which will boost both your employability and also your confidence as you go through the job hunt. So first and foremost, hello, my name is Jack Miller. That is me in my favourite dungarees as a 4-year-old. That's me in front of my mum's first car. All I knew at that age was that A, I liked dungarees, and B, I loved cars. Absolutely everything about cars at the time was fascinating. And it was really my first genuine passion. Fast forward to 2013 through to 2018. So this was the period in my development of my career where I was at the University of Chester as a student and also involved in both the Global Entrepreneurship Congress and Young Enterprise. So my degree was business management and entrepreneurship. And as part of that, I was engaged with a program that allowed me to go and speak in Moscow and Rio in Brazil about the importance of development and collaboration with young people in startups. And then in the second year of university, I became engaged with Young Enterprise, and that's very much where the seed of this event here was first planted. So I was involved in Young Enterprise's startup program, which was a program that allows you to nurture the skills of entrepreneurship and really develop the ability to create, market, and develop a business. So great opportunity, and really was the inspiration for starting my own business. So an amazing program that again has given me a lot of skills that I use in my day job and also in my business. Whilst at university, I also worked for Vauxhall Motors as part of my undergraduate year. So this was a sales strategy role and allowed me to revisit my passion for cars and Vauxhall. So it was great to join that company and really continue my automotive journey. After university, I then joined Bentley Motors. So this was on their sales and marketing graduate development program. And this allowed me to work in 9 departments, 5 countries, and also get the opportunity to work for Bugatti in France and Germany. And this really cemented my love for cars and particularly luxury cars. And this led to today, where I'm Global Retail Performance Lead at Aston Martin Lagonda. So my job ultimately is to support the 160 dealers around the world in selling luxury automobiles. So an amazing brand, amazing cars, and a job that I really do love. But another passion of mine, aside from cars, is people development. One of my part-time roles at university was also working in recruitment. So this involved recruiting candidates for some of the UK's leading brands, whether that be supermarkets, clothes shops, furniture stores. And it really gave me an understanding of what happens behind the curtain of the recruitment process. So I had that understanding of recruitment, and I also had my own career progress, which I've massively enjoyed. And I've really enjoyed taking those steps and understanding the recruitment side of things and knowing how to stitch the two together. So this was very much the reason for starting Career Velocity. I wanted to use that behind the curtain knowledge. I wanted to use my own first-hand tips and bring them together into a business. So again, Career Velocity, it's all about helping others to develop their careers as well. So what are we going to be talking about today? Again, this is all about the secrets of career development. It's to give you a bit of an insight into how recruitment works and give you some of the tips for success from me. So firstly, we're going to look at the recruitment process. We're going to look at the fundamentals of how that process works. And you don't need to understand it absolutely word for word, but understanding the mechanics of how it works will massively boost your chances for success. We'll then talk about the personal marketing portfolio. Now, this is an absolutely fundamental tool in defining and marketing who and what you are to potential employers. We'll then go through the top 10 tips. So this covers everything from defining your goals through to interview performance. Just some little bits of pointers that will turn a good performance into a great performance and just give you that extra 10% that can help you stand out from the crowd. Then I'm delighted to offer a competition to everybody. So this will be a one-to-one career development coaching session with myself, and really pleased to offer this as part of the new partnership with Young Enterprise. Then, as Danielle touched on, if anybody has any questions, please feel free to use the comments box and stick it in there, and we'll cover it at the end. So, goals. We're going to understand the recruitment process. We'll talk about what tools you need to be successful, and we'll look at how you can stand out from the crowd. Now, I know we all have lives, lockdown or no lockdown, so this takes about 30 minutes just in case you're thinking about what time to start dinner. So, recruitment process. How you navigate the maze is massively important. It can feel a little bit scary, it can feel a little bit daunting, particularly if it's the first time that you've had to go through the recruitment process, or if it's been a few years since you've had to be engaged in the process. So now I'm going to take you through some of the key steps from the perspective of an employer and start to touch on ways in which you can boost your performance throughout those steps. So right at the start of the process, and again, this is from the perspective of an employer, they define the requirements. So this is all about them understanding who, what, and why they need someone to fill a role. So they'll be looking at the skills, the education, the experience, and the objectives of the role, and just start to create a job description and a people profile and use those to advertise the job. So jobs will be advertised on job sites to former candidates who have been rejected for a role previously, maybe, the internal talent pool, so current employees of that employer, and also social media. I'm sure many of you have probably heard about this evening's webinar through social media, so you'll have a bit of a feel for how important social media is and how important it is becoming in the job search. Once an employer has advertised the roles and they've had applications come in, they'll then need to screen the candidates and begin to understand whether these applications are right for the role or not. So they'll engage with the candidates, they'll shortlist people who they think might be right for the role, and then they'll manage those people through that process. So either saying to people, you've not quite got what we need, or saying, yes, you've got what we need, and this is what comes next. They'll start to manage people through the process. Then the assessment process comes in. Now, this is the bit that can cause nervousness in some people, but having a proper plan and preparing can be all the difference between unsuccessful and successful recruitment processes. So when they're assessing candidates, they're going to be testing you, they're going to be comparing you to other applicants, and they're just going to be trying to understand you basically and work out, is this person right for the role? And is this person right for the brand moving forward? Then outcome or decisions. So at the end of the recruitment process, the job will be offered to the person that they think is right. Maybe they'll need to negotiate that offer. And then anybody who isn't successful at that point will be rejected from the process. However, if you are ever rejected from a recruitment process, bear in mind my point for advertising. They will look at former candidates. If they have a new role come up where someone applied, let's say 6 months ago, but were unsuccessful, but were nearly there, they will re-engage these people and they will get back in touch. So all isn't lost if you're rejected from a job. Absolutely not all is lost. So we're now going to talk about the personal marketing portfolio to tell you a little bit about A, what that is, but B, how it can help you in these key stages of the recruitment process. So to be successful in the job market, you've got to define and understand what your personal brand is and you need to be able to advertise it to employers. I can't tell you how important it is to look at yourself, your talents, your achievements as almost like a product. You need to advertise this product. You need to sell the features, sell the advantages, sell the benefits of you as a product to an employer. Employers need to be motivated to contact you and progress you through the recruitment process. So, personal brand, what is it? Your personal brand is how you're portrayed, both as a person and as a professional. So there's many different elements that feed into this, but some of the key elements are your knowledge, so what you know, whether that is your education or whether that is just topics or things that you know about. Your skills, so what you're good at, whether that's data analysis, customer service, numbers, whatever that may be. Your experience, so who you've worked for and what you've done for those people. Your beliefs, so whether that be political or what you think is right or wrong, has a massive impact on how you're portrayed and what your personal brand is. Your USP, so by USP I mean unique selling point. So imagine there's 5 people who are being interviewed. Why would you get the job over those other 4 people? You need to have a good understanding of what makes you special, because if you understand what makes you special, you can understand what you really need to market and what you really need to portray to employers. Your goals. Goals are one of the most important things in any walk of life, whether it's looking at decorating your house or looking at how to get your next job. You've got to have goals. If you've got a goal, you know where you're heading or want to head, and having that vision allows you to navigate your thoughts and your actions and your decisions towards that goal, because you can always ask yourself the question, is this thought, is this action, is this decision going to help or hinder my goals? So it's really important to understand what that next career goal is. And that could be your first job, that could be getting a pay rise, that could be getting a job in a different country. Just define your goal and you can really start to head towards it. Congruence. Now, this is a bit of a funny word. You don't see it that often, but I just love the concept of congruence. And what congruence is and what that means is it means consistency. So congruence is, if I was to say that I am extremely good with my attention to detail, and I then go to an interview and I haven't polished my shoes and I've had a bit of a shave, but half of the hair's still on my face, they may think, that's not really in line, that's not really consistent with your point about attention to detail. So everything that you do needs to be congruent. So whether that's your posture, the way in which you're speaking, how you're dressed, how you're talking, it all needs to be consistent and back up your core personal brand. So back up to the personal marketing portfolio. This is very much the way in which you advertise your personal brand to employers. But before you do that, it is absolutely essential that you validate your personal brand. And what I mean by this is it can be quite difficult to define exactly what you're good at and take a pen and paper and write all these things down. But once you have got a bit of a feel for what your personal brand looks like and and all of those individual elements within that, you need to validate it. So you can validate your personal brand by speaking to people you trust, whether that's friends, family, or colleagues. And you can do this either in person with open questions, or to get a bit of a better feel, sometimes you can set up an anonymous survey where people could just give you responses. What do you think I'm good at? What do you think I could get better at? And this will really allow you to validate whether all the things that you think you're good at or you think you could get better at are what other people think as well. And this can really reinforce what you're good at and also highlight blind spots in your performance. So really, really important step in the process. So getting back to advertising that personal brand, this is where the personal marketing portfolio comes in. Now, your personal marketing portfolio is very much your toolbox for success. So within that toolbox, we've got a number of different tools that are going to allow you to communicate that personal brand. First and foremost, CV. So one of the most important pieces of the jigsaw here, your CV, it needs to reflect and portray the message that you want to portray to employers. It needs to promote your personal brand. It needs to reinforce the reasons why you're special and the reasons why you could help an employer. your CV is absolutely essential, and I will touch on some of the 7 fundamentals of a successful CV. A cover letter, so a cover letter that really works in harmony with your CV. It should call out the key bits of your CV and the key bits of your personal brand that are relevant to each individual job that you apply for. I can't tell you how important it is to tailor a cover letter. So a cover letter really is about drawing out the key bits you want an employer to know. If they were to just read the cover letter, they know who you are, and what you want. LinkedIn. So if you don't have a LinkedIn profile, I do advise you to get one. It's an opportunity to take your personal brand online. For example, if I was to apply for a job with a CV and a cover letter, and someone was to then look at it and think, I'm going to do a Google search for this person, which happens more often than you'd think. They'll see, if they typed in Jack Miller career velocity, click search, my LinkedIn profile will appear where there's images of past projects and past successes, and also a bit more additional detail that isn't quite right to offer in a CV at all times. So it just enhances your personal brand and also allows you to control your digital footprint. And as time progresses and as the job market becomes increasingly digital, online and social media led, having and controlling your digital footprint is going to be of paramount importance. So I do advise you to look at that. Job application. Now the job application is different no matter where, depending on where you apply to. So this is really all about ensuring that your CV, cover letter and LinkedIn are reinforced into the job application. Now, that may be a really long form that you've got to fill out. It may be an online psychometric test. But when you're doing the job application, just have your CV, cover letter and LinkedIn profile at the front of your mind and ensure that you're talking about them in the best way possible through the application. So again, I just want to talk about the CV, just to give you some pointers in terms of what makes a successful CV. So one of the free services that we offer is a CV health check, which basically gives a rating of the following 7 categories for your CV. So there's 2 areas. There's the looks good and there's the does good. So first and foremost, it needs to be visually appealing. And what I mean by that is it shouldn't be cluttered. It needs to have headings. A recruiter doesn't really want to see 100 pictures on there and every colour in the rainbow. So make sure it's appealing, but doesn't detract from your overall talents. It needs to be professionally structured. There is a certain way. There's not a certified way for doing it, but there is certainly a way that recruiters are used to seeing a CV in terms of having your details, your personal summary, your experience, and your education. So make sure it is structured in that kind of way. Otherwise, a recruiter may not be able to find the information they're looking for, which means your CV may get cast to the side with your application. Ultimately, having a professional structure increases your chances of them giving you a call. Spelling and grammar, of course, important all the time. But again, harking back to that point about attention to detail, if there's any spelling that's wrong or any grammar that's out of place, it may give them the impression that your attention to detail isn't what it needs to be. So really important to look through that with a fine tooth comb. Now into the areas that do good. So your CV has got to showcase your skills and achievements. Don't write a nice story. It needs to be a bit of a story, but heavily focused upon your skills and what you've done to help employers. So what did you do? How did it improve the project, the team, the company, the job? You've got to talk about those things. Number 5, it should relate to your dream job. And what I mean by this is if you've got a role in mind that you'd like, let's say it's a marketing manager job, you need to find a job description for a marketing manager. Look at the skills and requirements for that role, and then look back at your own personal marketing portfolio. A, have I got those skills, which I'm sure you do? If you do, are you talking about them in the right way? And you almost want to be using the dream job description as a checklist to look at your own personal marketing portfolio and make sure you're selling the points that count. Communicate your goals. It's so important, A, to define your goals, but B, to tell a recruiter or an employer what your goals are. Now, again, we don't need a life story. I want to have a 10-bed house. I want to have 5 dogs. I want to live in Monaco. We don't need that. but we do need to know what you're looking to achieve in your next career step. So giving a recruiter that kind of feel is massively, massively helpful, because if they can't quite see the areas that they're looking for in the CV, but know that you're desperate for a marketing manager role, they may well pick up the phone to say, and why is it that you want a marketing manager role? What is it that you can offer in that role? And it just gives you another chance of re-engagement with the recruiter and gives you another chance to not be put on the no pile. Finally, it needs to be stitched with positive reinforcement. So again, talking about that congruence and the consistency throughout your CV, it's got to be reinforcing what makes you special and the reasons why you would be helpful to an employer. Now, top 10 tips. So I'm going to take you through some of my personal tips and hopefully give you some pointers again for turning a good performance into a great performance. Number 1, define your goals. As I've touched on, having a goal allows you to channel your energy, your thoughts, your actions, and your decisions towards a common goal, and just it allows you to make the decision about whether what you're doing and what you're thinking is right or wrong, and will help you to get that goal. Your goal has got to be defined, and it's got to be front and center of everything you do. Identify your strengths. So going back to the personal brand and the personal marketing portfolio, you need to know what you're good at, what makes you special, so you can ultimately use that, what you're good at, and talk about it to an employer. So identify those strengths. If you need help with identifying strengths, which sometimes it can be difficult to kind of look inwards and think, what am I good at? I've put a bit of a guide on our website in the tips section, which can help you identify some of those points. Develop your personal marketing portfolio. It's so important to have all of those tools in the toolbox that I talked about, but really review them regularly. Make sure that they're relevant. If your career goals change your personal marketing portfolio. It's a live document. Tailor the approach. Every single role that you apply for needs to have a tailored email to a recruiter, a tailored cover letter, a tailored CV. You can even play about with your LinkedIn profile a little bit if you're applying to just a few jobs. But tailoring really gives you the ability to pull out the key bits that help for each individual role and ultimately increases the chances of success. Have a personal connection. So a recruiter will sit there all day and receive many applications for various different jobs. But if someone reaches out to them with a bit of a personal connection, it can sometimes increase your chances of getting a call. So what I mean by this is if you were to apply for a job and it says who the recruitment manager is, maybe email them afterwards and say, hi there, I've applied for this role. I'd be absolutely delighted to progress in the application. Please, can you let me know if there's anything else you require? This gives you a proper name and a connection to the recruiter or hiring manager, but it also gives you a second bite of the cherry. If they've disregarded your application and put you in the no pile temporarily, but they receive an email from you with your direct contact details and they think, you know what, I'll give this person a go. And they pick up the phone to you, you're in, you've got an opportunity, you've got another bite of the cherry. So mega important to get that personal connection. And equally, if you go through the process and after your interview, send an email. Thank you so much for your time today. It was a pleasure to be interviewed for the role, to meet the company. It just shows that you're hungry. Practice. When you are going through the assessment process, it can be a little bit daunting, it can be a little bit stressful, but practicing makes all the difference. Now, call upon someone you trust again, whether it's colleagues, friends, family, or, I know I've done this many times, use your mirror, whether that's walking up to it and practicing the handshake or just practicing your interview answers. Having a bit of a practice will make all the difference with the preparation. The more you prepare, the more confident you are, and the more confident you are, the more likely you are to perform and ultimately be successful in the job. Prove that you're interested. Again, recruiters will receive countless applications every single day for many jobs. And if you can show that you're genuinely interested in the role, you massively increase your chance of A, getting an initial phone call, and B, landing the role ultimately. So what I mean by proving you're interested is research the company. If you are genuinely interested in the job or in the company, do some research, understand what they are, what they stand for, what their future looks like. And if you are interviewed, ask questions. Questions like, what do you see as the biggest opportunity for the business in the next 5 years? Or what's a real big challenge that we have at the moment? Or even softer things, nicer things like, what's it like to work here? What are the benefits like? It can just start to show you're really interested and you have done your homework. Number 8, take the pen. Now, if you end up in a group assessment or some kind of assessment centre as a team, and there's a flipboard and there's pens, take the pen. If you take the pen, you give yourself a position of power and a position of leadership, and you're under the spotlight, and you've almost become a referee for the team, and it really allows you to showcase your communication skills, your cooperation skills, and your leadership skills. And it really means that someone will remember your face a lot more lightly. So take the pen, give yourself a role in the assessment. Number 9, don't be afraid to say, can you repeat the question? Whether that's a telephone interview or physical interview. If you either A, didn't quite hear the question, or B, need a little bit more time, asking this question can give you that time and give you the opportunity to answer it in the best way possible. Now, number 10, take a drink. As you may have seen, I have a drink. When you're talking regularly, it can be quite tiring. You need to stay hydrated. It can be quite stressful. So always have a drink with you. It gives you something else to focus on. It allows you to not get a dry throat and not be able to speak anymore. But importantly, if you need a little bit more time to think about an answer, take a drink. It gives you a good 5 or 6 seconds to just get your thoughts together, think about your answer, and then deliver it. Really simple thing, but can make all the difference. So I hope that was a big help. I'd love to get some of your feedback at the end, which Danielle will be sharing a feedback form. But firstly, competition time. So again, I'm offering a one-to-one video career coaching session with myself, where we can look at defining your goals. If you already have goals, please share them with me and we can talk through them. We can then work out what your next steps could be in order to achieve those goals. And we can also diagnose ways to develop your personal marketing portfolio. If you're interested in this, and this session will be arranged with the winner at a time that suits them, please head to www.mycareervelocity.co.uk/competition. Just stick your name and email in there. And then the winner will be announced on Monday, the 1st of June at 7 o'clock via email and our social media channels. So be sure to give us a like, give us a follow. And again, enter at mycareervelocity.co.uk/competition. So looking back at those goals again, hopefully you understand a bit more about how the recruitment process works. You know what tools you'll need to be successful during that process. And you've got a few pointers in terms of how to stand out from the crowd during assessments. So again, thank you very much for joining the webinar. Thank you to Danielle and Young Enterprise for hosting and arranging this. And I'd love to answer any questions that anybody may have. Thank you.
Wow, Jack, that was really interesting, and I particularly liked how you structured it. I thought it was some really practical advice. I have spotted some questions down the side, but I thought I'd jump in straight away with mine first. Yeah, I mean, we hear quite a lot about automated recruitment at the minute and, beating the bots. So when you are writing your CV, is it important to put in keywords that helps you get through that?
Absolutely. So the kind of recruitment word for it is Booleans, which is exactly as you say, the keywords within a job description, or the keywords in terms of skills or experience that a recruiter is looking for. So typically, when it comes to the Booleans, if let's say I've got my recruitment hat on, I've had 100 applications and I need somebody who has got a degree, for example, A recruiter will then use their system to search and pick out applications that have the word degree in there, or it could be customer service or whatever they choose. But absolutely, Danielle, the recruitment process, as more and more people apply for jobs, the recruitment process has been simplified with tools such as AI and keyword searching. So massively important to ensure that those keywords are reflected in your CV. And going back to the point about the dream job description, if you use that dream job description and those keywords from that, as long as you actually have got the right kind of experience in those areas, using those keywords can definitely boost your chances.
That sounds fantastic. Going to the questions. So we've had one saying, have you experienced knockbacks in the recruitment process? And if so, how did you deal with it?
Yes, there was one particular role that I didn't get that I thought I would get, which can be quite the recruiting process is always quite a challenging thing mentally. I think it's quite a high pressured situation. It's an extremely stressful situation, and handling rejection or a knockback in any walk of life is an extremely difficult thing to do. But I think in the recruitment process, it's something that you really need to look at as a developmental point. So if you do get knocked back, and these are the steps that I took. I got knocked back from a job that I really wanted, and genuinely it was gutting to not get it. So the absolute next step that you've got to do upon rejection, and this is what I did, is to reach out to the hiring manager, thank them for their time again, but also ask, what could I have done to be successful, or what was missing from either my application or my performance. And ultimately, you then need to get a bit of a shopping list from that feedback. And this is exactly what I did. I wrote down the 3 points that he said I needed or didn't have. And I then made it my absolute goal to tick off those 3 bits within my own personal development and within my own personal marketing portfolio to make sure that next time when I wanted that job but at a different company, I was successful.
I like that. I like how you managed to turn that knockback into a positive and draw that out so you can focus on the actions moving forward.
Yeah, definitely. I think in earlier on in my career, I remember getting rejected from a different job, and I was just really stressed, really upset about it. And then when I took this new approach of thinking, okay, well, why wasn't I successful? How can I be successful? It just allows you to refocus and start again in the recruitment process and just keep your head up. And there's so many opportunities out there. So it's really important to keep going and use that feedback.
We've got a question from James who says, what do you think the biggest challenge to young people is in terms of getting through the door?
I think getting through the door is difficult, particularly when some entry jobs these days are asking for qualifications or experience that young people naturally don't have or won't have. So I think the biggest challenge is to make the most of your time as a young person. I think it can be, we all have different challenges and stresses and things that we need to spend time and thought on, particularly as young people. But I think when you are young, you need to be using the most of your time. And what I mean by this is get a part-time job, get some volunteering experience, align yourself with people who inspire you or people that you want to be like in future. Because I think if you've got some part-time experience or volunteering experience, it gives you skills and experiences that massively boost your chances of getting through the door. But also, if you align yourself with others who inspire you or successful people or whatever, they'll be able to give you some first-hand tips and pointers as well. So I think align yourself with people who are relevant to the opportunity you want, and get as much experience in your early years as you can. So again, whether that's working in a clothes shop or volunteering at a local old people's home, whatever it is, get experience where you can. Use your weekends to learn and develop.
How can career velocity help me if I don't know what I want to do with my life?
So I think the first step is always, and I know it's so difficult to know what you want to do. You know, I'll hold my hands up. I love cars. I knew it'd be something to do with cars, but so many people, and by so many I mean most people, don't know exactly what they want to do. So the first kind of step for us as a business is to have a free consultation, which is always free for the initial consultation. And this will just be to talk about what are your strengths, what are your interests, what are your passions? Because if you don't know what you want to do, it's really, really good to understand, A, what am I good at, and B, what do I enjoy doing? Because you can then stitch those two things together to create a next step. So if you're passionate about, let's say, football, of all things, if you're passionate about football, you love football, we can start to explore that as an option. And what I mean by that is not to be a football player, because I appreciate that is the 0.0001%, but we can start to use a passion and turn it into actionable next steps. So we then research the football industry and think about, okay, what does that look like? What opportunities are available there? What does the first step and rung look like in the football industry? And how exactly can we turn your experience into a passion that you can work in? So it's all about having that first consultation, understand what you're good at, what you're passionate about, and just try to work out exactly what the next steps are.
I like that approach. I think particularly because young people at school, half the jobs that they are going to have available to them haven't been invented yet. So I guess it can be quite confusing and difficult to know and understand what jobs are going to be there when they graduate. So I guess following that passion, do you think that's sort of more important than looking at formative career choices?
Absolutely. Follow your passions. You know, if you're passionate about something, I certainly find it so much easier to invest time, thought, energy and emotion into something if I'm passionate about something. And if you're willing to invest time, emotion, energy, and all those things, if you're willing to invest those into something, you're going to get better at it. If you're going to get better at it, you're going to perform better. If you're going to perform better, you're going to progress. So absolutely, at the very, very core of career development and career decision making needs to be that element of passion and interest. Absolutely.
Awesome. Next question. What one piece of advice would you give for someone 5 minutes before an interview?
5 minutes before the interview. That is the key. That is the key stage. Absolutely. I think 5 minutes before an interview, the most important thing is to gather your thoughts, stay calm first and foremost, make sure you've got a drink, but also think about why you're there. What is it that you've probably traveled to the other side of the country for, and you're sat in a room waiting, or why have you done that? There's got to be a reason. So think about that core underlining reason for you being there, whether it's to get your first job in media, or whether it's to get a promotion, or whether it's to earn more money so you can go on another holiday next year. Just reinforce in your mind and visualize exactly what it is you're trying to achieve. Because if you've got that, it can really, really drive you on. So I think that 5 minute window is mega important. And you need to remember, A, why am I special? And B, why am I here? What do I want out of this?
We've had somebody say thank you. Very impressed to refresh my mindset. That's awesome bit of feedback. And how often should I update my CV? Every year or every job change? So
I think it's very important to keep your CV up to date. Now, it's up to you in terms of how many jobs you take. Some people like to do a lot of temporary work, 6 months, 6 months, 6 months. Other people may change job every 5 years. So if your cycle of job hunting is quite short, so you get a job every year, let's say, then I'd absolutely say keep your CV up to date with every job. If you're every 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, then my biggest tip is to just keep some kind of log of all your kind of key achievements and skills, and then get your CV updated on the back of that. So yeah, it's all down to your timeline, whether you like to stay in a job for not long or quite long. So yeah, completely dependent on your circumstances, I'd say.
Cool. On the CV, when you were doing the session, I noticed you mentioned about showcasing those skills, and it really was about highlighting the benefits that you were going to give the organisation rather than I've got this skill. I know when I was first introduced to this topic, I found it so hard to do. You know, it was really easy to tick off a list of the things that I was good at, but I found it so difficult to put that into tangible benefits. So how would you advise people to do that?
So I think it's really important to reflect. You know, always, if you want to continually improve and you have got a bit of a progression plan or a bit of a career dream, it's so important to reflect. So what I mean by reflecting is, you don't have to do this every single day. I know I've always had a bit of a commute in whatever job I've had, so I'd use the commute time to just think back on, what have I done today? What could I have done better? What was the impact of my actions, of my work, of my input? So always think about what you're doing and what benefit that has to the company. So let's say that you're a customer service advisor. You're not just using the skills of communication and administration in that role. What you're actually doing is you're providing multiple benefits to a company. You're representing the brand. You're the voice of that company to people who either need help with a purchase or have got a problem. So you're providing those kind of benefits. You're helping the company. You're portraying their brand in the best possible way. And ultimately, you're retaining customers, and you're also supporting prospects and turning them into customers. So it's not just, don't think about a customer service role as just those skills. Think about the benefits that the company is getting as a result of your skills. So yeah, really important to reflect. Think about, what did I do today and what impact did that have? I think that's definitely the best way to look at it.
Another question, what did you wish you knew in your early job hunting days?
Many things, but I think most importantly, it's okay to be wrong, and it is okay to not be perfect and to not get things right first time every time. I think particularly as a young person, when you get into a new role or a new organization, you're surrounded by people who are already there, so they have more experience than you do. But also you're typically surrounded by a lot of older people who have much more experience than you do. So I think my biggest tip would definitely be that it's okay to not get things right first time, and don't beat yourself up for it. Call upon the experienced people around you. Ask them, how could I do that better? How could I improve that? What would you do if you were doing this? Ask those kind of questions to get support from others, because if you can understand how the experts or more experienced people would do it, you can use those bits of insights and bits of opinions and feedback to then control your own performance. But ultimately, my point is, if you don't get things right in the early stage of your career, don't take it personally. Keep your chin up, keep going, be persistent, and keep performing.
So Jack, one of the things that I've read quite a bit on is about the gender divide when it comes to applying for jobs. So I think the current figure is that women will apply for a job if they're 100% certain that they've ticked all the criteria, where men will apply if they've ticked 60. How much of that criteria do you think you've got to tick in order to put yourself forward for a job?
It certainly shouldn't be 100%. You shouldn't not apply for a job just because you've not ticked every single element. I think there isn't an absolute scientific number, but I think probably 70 to 80% feels about right in terms of how much of the requirements you meet. But ultimately, you need to remember that if somebody has got 100% of the requirements, the employer is going to have to fight to get them, because the candidate could potentially be too good for the role, or they could ask for more money than what is being advertised. But also, the kind of people who have got 100% of the requirements are probably also applying for roles that they've got 60% of the requirements, 80% of the requirements. So you should really focus upon anything where you've got 70%, 60, I'd say 70% onwards of the requirements, 70% up, go for it, apply for it, because you may not know that you've actually got the remaining 30%, but also it gives the recruiter the opportunity to speak to you. If you get rejected, you understand because you've not got the 30%, but maybe they'll give you the call. And if they give you the call, they might realise actually this person's right for the role. So I'd say about 70% feels about right. Some employers have started to say mandatory or essential, which I think when they have specifically said mandatory or essential, if you are really keen on the role and think you're right for the role, I'd suggest reaching out to the company on a case-by-case basis just to understand, is there any leeway or flexibility with that? But 70% onwards, I'd say, feels reasonable.
Brilliant. I like the way of looking at it that way, particularly if that person's already got 100%, they'll be applying for other jobs.
Yeah.
So we've got some comments here. Somebody said, by the way, I find it hard to know my value and hard to identify what I want, naive. So I think maybe that might be something they're finding quite challenging.
Yeah. I think again, you need to look at that personal brand piece and that reflect upon what you are. If you're struggling to understand what it is that you're good at or what your values are, if you've currently got a role, ask your colleagues, ask them, what do you think I did good today, or what do you think I could improve on, and just start to get feedback. Everybody has talents, everybody has skills. You just need to understand what they are so you can really harness them. So ask yourself questions like, what am I interested in? When did I do a good job? In my last performance review, what did my line manager say I did good in the last 12 months? Again, there is a blog post on our tips page where there's some more of those questions that you can ask yourself to just try and understand more about what you're good at, because it can be really difficult initially to work out what those things are. So ask for feedback of others and reflect as much as possible with some of those questions that I've touched on.
Fantastic. We've got another comment. Interesting stuff. Thanks very much for putting this event on. Always good for a refresher course.
Good to hear.
Great. And can you share the recording for the session today? So yep, we will be sending that out. So we've got the feedback form on the published page. So you should see that in your question and answer slot on the side. So if you'd like to fill that out, we'll be sending that in the email. We'll send you the recording for the session, and we'll also send you details to sign up for Jack's competition. So that will be coming out this week. So I've got one last question for you, Jack.
Yeah.
We've recently had Mental Health Week, which is all about kindness. And I noticed right at the beginning of this session, you were talking about starting career velocity because you wanted to help other people. So do you think kindness has a part to play in business? And if so, is that something good to get across in your CV, and how would you do that?
Absolutely. People engage with people more than anything else. Having a personal connection and kindness can genuinely make all the difference. So whether that's being a bit more human in the way that your CV is written and not robotic, or whether it's having that personal connection in terms of picking up the phone to a recruiter and saying, hi, my name's Jack, this is what I'm all about, how are you? Those kind of things can make a massive difference in the recruitment process. But in business in general, I think kindness is just such an amazing currency. I think being kind to others and having the support and care of others in the workplace is massively important. I think it allows you to have support, and particularly as a young person in the workplace surrounded by experts, showing kindness to these experts or more experienced people can sometimes make them more likely to want to kind of engage and help you, and ultimately show kindness back to you. And I think kindness can make you feel comfortable. It can make you feel happier. If you're happier, you're more motivated. If you're more motivated, you're more likely to be able to progress your career and perform as well. So yeah, I think kindness is massively important, both as an employee, but also as an employer. And I think you're seeing on social media more and more companies wanting to give back to their wider communities, particularly given the current pandemic. So I think kindness is definitely a massive thing, massive thing.
Awesome. I think that was a really nice one to finish on. So thank you so much, Jack. I was a really great session, and I've taken a lot from that, and from the comments it looks like other people have too. So where can we find you if we want to get in touch?
Yeah, so best place, if you head to mycareervelocity.co.uk, if you want to get in touch with us, there's a contact page there where you can drop us an email and we can set up a consultation call. Or you've got our social media channels, Instagram, Facebook, and also LinkedIn. And on the website, we've also got the career tips section, which is a new feature on the website, which will be full of all sorts of different bits of advice, whether that's recruitment process, identifying strengths, or moving forward into some more of the career development aspects as well. But yeah, on our website, mycareervelocity.co.uk, or our social media channels.
Awesome. I've just noticed we've had a last question come in.
Yeah.
I know there's a bit of a lag, so let's look at that. So we've got, what was it like initially starting up Career Velocity?
So initially it was scary. You get the kind of feeling that you sometimes get when you go through the recruitment process, or you're looking at a new job, when you get the kind of nerves in your stomach and you think, oh God, I don't know what I'm doing here at all. But you just go with it. I've learned so much about how to set up a business in the first place, but also, all of the individual things that you need to do as a business in terms of the marketing, the customer service, the sales process. So I think I've learned an awful lot. I think it was a very interesting and challenging thing to do, because obviously it was the odd evening in the week, and a lot of weekends were spent trying to develop the business and grow it to where it is today. So incredibly stressful, but so exciting. And I just felt like it was my opportunity to, again, use my experience, use my skill set, and ultimately try and help others. Particularly, I've helped people of all ages as a business, but I'm so focused on young people as well, to try and reassure and guide people towards the future. So I'd say it was exciting, stressful, a little bit scary, but now that I've kind of set it up a little bit, it's so kind of rewarding to know, like, this is what we offer, and doing things like this is just such a great thing to be able to do. So exciting and challenging, I'd say.
Oh, cool. And I think somebody else has sneaked in a last one too. If you aren't successful with an application, do you always receive feedback, or do you have to ask for it?
So you'll very rarely, if your application has been rejected early on in the recruitment process, a recruiter most recruitment places will be unlikely to give you feedback directly, simply because they may have one job and 1,000 applications. So at that point in the process, it's a little bit unmanageable to give everybody feedback. However, the best thing to do is, firstly, look at your application, look at the job description, and just think to yourself, like, where did I miss out? Was it the 30%, let's say, that we were missing in terms of the requirements? Try and validate yourself why you think it is, and then if you're not sure, or you want a bit more guidance, pick up the phone, ring the recruitment company, ring the employer, and say, you've had an application, it's been rejected, I just wanted to know how it could be successful next time. And then you've got that shopping list that I talked about of knowing I need to do A, B, C, D, and then you're in with a shot of an interview or whatever. It just gives you a direction. It gives you manageable goals that you can achieve, and then throw your hat into the ring again in future. So you're unlikely to receive feedback at that stage, but if you ask for it, you'll probably get it.
Fantastic. So that looks like the end of the questions. That was really great, and I do love question and answer sessions, because you really get a much more in-depth understanding with that. So it's great that everybody's engaged so much. So yeah, just again, a huge thank you to Jack. Very proud of all the work you're doing, and completely awesome that you are Young Enterprise alumni as well. So I guess with that, we'll say good night. Hope everyone has a great evening, and please fill out the feedback form. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everybody.